Good morning. Welcome back to Passionate World Talk Radio. Educate, enlighten, entertain. And this morning, chatting with Betsy Wurtzel, we are doing a special program called Hunting the Vulnerable on LinkedIn. But it could be on Facebook, it could be on Twitter, it can be on any of the social networks, just not LinkedIn. However, LinkedIn is supposed to be a professional breeding ground for business owners and companies to interact and network. But it didn't quite work out that way. And both of us, Betsy and I, have had our own experiences. But I'm going to let Betsy start out telling you what happened to her after she became recently widowed.
Hi, Lillian. Thanks for having me on. I was really shocked about what goes on LinkedIn. Call me naive. I mean, I'm pretty street smart. I'm from New Jersey. And I thought LinkedIn, I went on, for the podcast. First, when I did LinkedIn, I did as my teacher's aide and I had to change it. So I changed it to the being, chatting with Betsy, the host. And I started getting emails. I've gotten emails from guys. I had one just recently. I had a laugh that he actually sent his pictures and said, "I'd like to get to know you." Yeah, no, thank you. Another guy, we were chatting back and forth, and he sent me his picture and he wanted mine. I said, no. He said, why not? I said, you're a stranger. He said, I'm a stranger. I said, yes, I don't know you personally. So if I don't know you personally, you're a stranger. I'm not giving a stranger my picture to do whatever they want with it. And, maybe 5 years ago, you never would think of someone putting your face on another person's body. But this is what they do now in social media. And this is another one that was funny. Excuse me. I laugh. I start to cough. This guy says, your profile picture looks familiar. Maybe we should get together and figure it out. And I said, no, not interested. Thank you. And I think, Lillian, I was shocked that people, I thought like LinkedIn, okay, to connect with people about the show, they want to come on or be on their show. But when you start getting hit on by guys, and I think that it's a sad commentary, really, that men, and maybe women too, look for men who are vulnerable, but men, predators, pick their prey. They're very calculated in how they do it. They look for someone like us, recently widowed. They might think we have money, which is really funny. So if anyone's watching this, you're a predator. I don't have money, so don't waste your time. They want to know if you live alone. And even if I lived alone, I wouldn't say that I did. That just sends red flags and gives me the creeps. Wanting to meet with me, wanting to know what I do for a living. What I do for a living, not so strange, but they want to know the income, really. I think that's why they're asking. And, women and men, but I think more so women, can be very vulnerable when they have lost to somebody, to death, or even a breakup. So people might be thinking, okay, she's a widow, she's vulnerable, I could swoon in for the kill. No. Who's ever watching this, I am not, number one, vulnerable. I'm street smart. I'm a Jersey girl, and my father raised me. Okay, right. And I'm not giving out personal information. I don't care if you get insulted or not. And they get very insulted when
Very
you won't
quickly.
give them. Yes.
And folks, if you think this is just an uncommon occurrence, you don't need to sign up for one of those dating sites because they do come after you. I've had at least 12 different guys hit on me. And while I'm a New York kid and all that other stuff, when you're vulnerable, sometimes you don't think clearly. Or if you've been in a bad marriage, or your husband, for example, has some kind of brain disease, or Alzheimer's, or Parkinson's, or dementia, they say things because they have no filters anymore that really hurt. So when they finally die, you do have self doubts about you. So it makes you a prey, Prey. But what you really should be doing is praying, Pray, that you not become a victim. And I have a story to tell you. The first 10 guys that approached me, I got rid of them pretty quick. But the last one, unfortunate for me, I fell in love. And so did the guy. He fell in love with me, which I'm pretty sure was not part of his plan. When Betsy mentioned asking personal questions, it never occurred to me not to. I'm a very open person, have been all my life. It's not that I wear my heart on my sleeve. I wear my heart all over my body. And that's just who I am. So even though I'm street smart, fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me. It wasn't until the fool me twice that I really realized that this guy was hunting for somebody to pay his business deals. How do I know it? Well, because he's so enamored as me. He told me when I made this deal, I already knew my country banks were locked down. But when I met you from America, well, everybody in America is well off. That's what they're told. And I said, well, I loaned you an amount of money, and then you told me it was for taxes. And I felt absolutely sick. Oh, incidentally, if they ask you to put it in Bitcoins, run in the opposite direction. Bitcoins and wire money do not leave audit trails. Neither do they leave any signatures. So if they don't provide you with a receipt and their name on it, run. I've learned the hard way. No, I didn't give him his second amount of money that he needed to pay for the embargo taxes, because by that time, my little business brain said to me, Lillian, I don't understand this. And what we didn't understand is here's a businessman who's been in business for 30 years. He's done an extremely successful whatever in his particular business. And he's telling me he can't take the money out of his country. Well, that was a red flag for me. I couldn't get over that because I went on Google and I couldn't find any reference to any of that. And that did not make sense. And then I have a friend who's what do they call them? Anyway, she works in Washington, D.C., and she went through the government contacts she had, and they all told me the same thing. No, it's not quite like that. If he needed money, France would let him have it. So that sent up a second red flag. And then the third red flag, when you converted the euros into American dollars, it was $68,000. I wasn't giving somebody $68,000 to pay embargo taxes. If I had $68,000, it would go to my grandkids and send them through college. All three of them want to be scientists, which means doctorates. So they're going to be in the educational system starting around age 18 and maybe get out maybe by the time they're 30, if they're lucky. So I said, absolutely not. And guess what, folks? When you're in love, and it doesn't matter what age you are, I'm 69 years young. I hadn't dated since I was 21. Got married 30 years, 31 years. Okay. What I did in the early 70s and 80s for dating is no longer applicable in the 21st century. Unfortunately for me, I didn't know that. I didn't have any close girlfriends the same who have been dating recently. And the swiftness of how these gentlemen operate is terrifying, truly terrifying. And if they start telling you that they have a daughter or a son to raise, that's the last red flag, because they start using this imaginary child. But to sum it all up, go into a foreign country, leaving your credit cards behind, having an airline ticket that has already expired. Why he didn't renew it, I don't understand. I don't get this. You know, for somebody who's been in business for 30 years, I'm still a little bit I'm puzzled. I don't understand it. And yes, I've spoken to a couple of people in business who own their own businesses and that they own their own businesses for a long time. And they say, well, maybe he's a risk taker. And I said, well, of all the women in the United States, he picked the wrong vulnerable one, because I was trained to be barefoot and pregnant and support a corporate husband. And the first time around, it didn't work out. So I had a 1.5-year-old boy to take care of, and he came first. So I came up the hard way. And when you come up the hard way, which means you're living barely above the poverty level, because I didn't have any skills or business skills or anything, and you just don't mess with me. And now he's in a foreign country. He hasn't paid his hotel bill in a month, and has no airline ticket to go back home with. He's telling me he's malnourished because he can't eat a decent meal, and he wanted money for that. And I thought, let's see, my mother starved herself to death. It took her more than a year because the doctor told her she had enough spare fat on her frame to last her 6 months. So I know he's not starving. I'm sorry, folks. I told you I had a rough life. When looking at Lily, and you think she's the total package. She has everything. Well, not quite. And if I do, it's because I worked ass to get it. And one of the things I did know and learn is you don't ask people for money, because money is personal. And if you're doubting my word, even my son has asked me for a loan of X amount of money, and he's not going to get it either, because I'm not a bank. That's what banks are for. My financial advisor told me to tell this guy, get a line of credit.
Mm-hmm.
So that's my morbid story. And you're probably thinking, so what are you going to do? And I said, well, I've been told by all the experts to break it off with him. He told me, are you actually going to be listening to other people tell you what you need to do and everything? And unfortunately, the answer is yes, because they're trying to protect me.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't have $68,000 to give anybody. It just doesn't work that way. Oh, side note, my husband was fired from his job in his late 50s, early 60s. We spent 4 years without any income at all. We lost everything. Have you ever tried to start over again when you're 64? Try it sometime. In this country, yeah, they discriminate against old people, no matter how educated they are or how qualified they are. So, like I said, I've come up through life the hard way. And for me, when somebody asks me, sometimes love just isn't enough. That's my sad story, folks. And where did I meet him? On LinkedIn. Is he listed on LinkedIn? Yes. He has a few friends, a couple of connections. There's a picture of him sitting in front of his, I think, dealership. But I think the biggest thing is, I don't know whether he really is in the foreign country or he's still at home in France. I don't know what to believe anymore, because I really can't understand how a businessman could get himself in this kind of trouble. That, for the life of me, I cannot understand that. Either he has a Ponzi scheme going on, or I don't know what.
I think they lie, Lillian. I think they make
it up as they go along, and they just pick the wrong person to deal with. So even though the money I did give to him to pay off his taxes with, supposedly, it's a lot of money, but I've spent the same amount of money on taking webinars and learning how to make presentations as a speaker. So at least I can sort of make it and say to myself, well, it's relatives, because I've blown that much money before. And it'll take me a couple of years to come back to where I am, but it's not dangerous. But listen, folks, it could have been dangerous. So what you have to ask yourself when you're approached by this person is, what's in it for you? What do you want? And even though that sounds hurtful, because it is, you need to ask those questions. And even if you go to a dating site, the same thing can happen to you. It doesn't really matter. I understand that sending money to the Ivory Coast is the number one scam in the United States. Oh, a footnote. Somebody called the cops about this guy. And the cops came over and interviewed me. And they weren't too satisfied. So the next thing I know, the Social Welfare Division from the state of Pennsylvania sent a social worker out to talk to me about it.
Oh.
And if you are a senior citizen and your children have power of attorney, watch out. They can come in, declare you incompetent, and take your estate away. So this is something that you have to keep in mind when somebody approaches you online. I know it's nasty. I know it's not anything you want to suspect that somebody will do that to you, but you have to ask yourself, why do people come after the people in the United States, especially older citizens? Because we are rich pickings for them. Oh, did I tell you that this guy came from another country?
Mm-hmm.
And that the only way we talk is through translation on Google?
Wow.
So be very, very careful. And it's too bad. It really is too bad, because if he hadn't tried to do all this, who knows? Maybe I would have gotten different someday. But the thing of the matter is, COVID has a way of really stripping away the fantasies and the romanticism of any relationship with anyone.
Mm-hmm.
So all I can say, instead of saying buyer beware, woman beware.
Yes.
They're a really true blue 100% guy. They're not going to pressure you. They're not going to tell you they love you within 2 weeks of meeting you. They're not going to tell you how they're going to crawl into your room and do ABC 1, 2, 3 to you. And more importantly, they're not going to ask you for money.
Yes,
that's the biggest red flag. And stupid me, I sort of knew that, but but I felt maybe he really needed the money because he couldn't get any money from the banks. That was before I did my investigation of where he's staying. And I don't envy him. As he says, he went to that country voluntarily, but it's an Islamic country, and we all know what that means.
You know what, Lillian? This shows that anybody can get to be a victim of a predator. You know, you're a smart, intelligent woman. You know, don't beat yourself up. And I told you this before, because when your husband died, you're not in your mind.
You're not in your right mind, or your left mind, for that matter.
No. And so it's easy. It's very easy to fall prey. Even though a person is smart, intelligent, it happens. It happens to so many people. And, you know, the thing is, they will love bomb you. Let me tell the audience, watch out for love bombers. What's a love bomber? They will try to be romantic. They will tell you they love you, like within 2 weeks, like Lillian said. They will, they try to ease in because they want to hook you, get your trust. So when they ask you for money, you will be in love with them and you'll believe them and you will give them what they ask for. I even had people want me to invest with them. Yeah, like I'm really going to invest with someone overseas that I don't know. I don't think so. So it can happen. It just proves, Lillian, that it can happen to anyone. And people had to check, men and women, because there's men who are just as vulnerable when they lose their wives or
I think the
girlfriends.
wise thing is, if you're in doubt, contact LinkedIn and say, this gentleman approached me. Is there any way we can? I mean, I've had them send me emails with their pictures. Well, who knows whether those pictures are really pictures of them? I mean, it's a wide open field out there, and there's no protection, unfortunately, for women. And one of the biggest things that I learned from this: be very careful about sexting. And people are going to say, "What's that?" And that's when girls unknowingly either send pictures of their body, naked or otherwise, or they say certain things that imply that they're wide open for whatever type of sex act that this guy desires. And I'm guilty of that. I'm ashamed of it, but I'm guilty of it. And as they say, the burnt hand teaches best. And my God, I'm not going through this again. So if there's any really respectable guy out there, I'm not quite sure what to tell you, but I will tell you this: never again. There's never again am I going to go through this again. And if it means I remain a spinster for the rest of my life, there are worse things in life, because at least I trust myself. I'm not going to prey on myself, and I'm certainly not going to ever put myself in a position where I become homeless. And these people don't care about your problems or how it hurts or affects you. They're only concerned about themselves and how much they can take from you. And let me tell you, this guy has used every type of argument on me and shameful language to get me to pity him. But unfortunately for him, like I said, I was a single parent with a baby. I was taught up to be a wife to a corporate person. I didn't have very many skills. Starting salary was $5.25. So we lived pretty much right on top of the poverty level. I mean, the blacks and the Hispanics in our complex was impressed that this white person could manage as well as she did. And it was okay. But at 69, I'm not doing that all over again. It's fine when you're 21, 22. You can bounce better. But when you start hitting your late 60s, early 70s, that's not the time to start beginning all over again. Not for anybody. I'll tell you this: love is not worth it. Strip it away. Stay away from Jane Austen, because she does romanticize love with a lot of her characters. Life is not like that.
That's right. That's right. That reminds me of a funny story, Lillian. I used to say to Matt, I used to read the Harlequin novels. I go, Matt, why aren't you romantic like the people in the books? I go, that's a book. I'm reality.
Yeah.
But
yeah. There is no person who's going to be coming up on a white or a black horse. There are no Mr. Darcy's out there. So if you're looking for love, my honest advice to you is, if the universe wants you to have a lover, they will send one to you. You'll bump into somebody accidentally or whatever. Don't join a matching thing, because you're prey on that as well. You expose yourself because you have to tell yourself, and girls don't really know how to talk about themselves without revealing all.
That's right. Lillian, I haven't dated in 40 years.
So you're in worse shape than I am.
So, November 1st would have been Matt and I, was our 40th anniversary. And I was talking back and forth to someone on LinkedIn. He has allegedly has a business in New York City. He lives upstate New York. And I told him I'm not interested in a relationship, a friendship. I don't have a problem being friends with somebody. But he was very pushy. And then he didn't text me one Sunday. We didn't call, we text. And I was glad not to hear from him, because I was getting uncomfortable. And he goes, nice of you to check up on me, Betsy. You didn't check up on me. I just blocked him because he sent me a picture. I did send him a picture. Hopefully he won't do anything with it. I had my cousin look at him. His profile picture didn't even look like his other picture, but a red flag went up. He told me that he didn't know where his son was. His son was in foster care. Now, if you're a parent and even though you're divorced, how is your child in foster care?
Yeah.
You have
It's
to
like
give up
my
the rights.
tells me he's an orphan now that both his parents are dead. And I looked and I said, Bill, you're not an orphan. Your parents are dead. That's all you are. You're not an orphan. Trust me.
Yeah. And the sympathy card. I'm a widow. I get that. I lost my wife, an accident, cancer. They say these things to get the sympathy card.
Yes.
Maybe it's true. Maybe it's not true. But, you're right. Women beware and men beware also because women are scammers too.
Oh, absolutely. There are shows about them on the crime shows. And in fact, the news recently has come up with people who have scammed. For one person was scammed out of all their real estate and they were a billionaire. And the next day they were homeless. So I congratulate myself for coming out of it more or less okay. And because of the pandemic, it makes it easier for these people to prey on you. You're in isolation. That didn't help me. We were in lockdown since last February when this guy showed up in March. And it was somebody to talk to and, discuss things and this and that and everything else. So it was a little bit of my fault as well. But the bottom line is when somebody starts asking for money, run. Don't even go there. Even if you're in love, let me tell you something. I'll be mourning my husband for the rest of my life because I love him. That will never go away. The love for this guy is virtually, he's doing a good job of ripping it to shreds and stomping it on the ground because of his behavior. So think about that.
Yeah, that's right. I don't plan on getting married again, Lillian, and I don't even know if right now, and it will be a year in January that Matt died, but I'm not ready to date. I didn't even feel comfortable really texting somebody. People might think that's ridiculous. You do what you're comfortable with. I'm not ready to date. And I think LinkedIn really needs to do a better job in screening their people that come on and make sure they are who they say they are. Because you think that because they're on LinkedIn, they're okay. It's safe. And it's not.
But it's not true. And the other thing you should know, if you have a cell phone, whether it's Android or an iPhone, on Skype, you will receive calls from these people. If they're calling you on Skype, it'll also show up on your cell phone. So if you don't want that extra bit of invasion, you block them. That's what I did.
Yes.
I mean, and the other thing is they get angry very, very quickly. Very volatile. He was on Skype and I was in the middle of doing something and I didn't answer him immediately. And the next thing I know, he says to me, if you're online, answer me. And I'm thinking, what the hell?
Yes. That's how it was with that guy. Actually,
that's another red flag. You don't let, I don't even let my 47-year-old son talk to me that way.
That's right.
And if you're in a relationship with somebody and you haven't met them except on Skype when you're texting back and forth when you're writing and by phone occasionally. Now he's from the continent. So he's speaking his language. I'm speaking English. And Google interprets it. And the interpretation of the words sometimes don't always come out right. So I'm not saying they're all bad guys, but I would say about 99% of them are. So if you're on LinkedIn and you get either an email or somebody who contacts you and the first words out of their mouth is, I want to take care of you, run. I'm sorry. I don't like saying that because it makes you sound like you don't trust anybody. And you're absolutely right. This problem that I now have with this guy has taught me a lot of things. And one of them is you can't trust anyone. That if you go and take a look at the profile, and these people have very skimpy profiles, they don't have anything down there at all to help you out. And when you try to look them up on Google, they're impossible to find. So you just don't know whether they're telling you the truth or not. And it's a dog eat dog out there. And I'll tell you what, folks, it's that principle that girls and women had to fear ever since the cavemen came out and down from the trees. What's your most valuable asset, ladies? Your virginity. So if you, what's your valuable asset in the United States, ladies, is whatever monies your husband or you have struggled to put into the bank for the past 30 or 40 years to save for your golden years. And that's what you need to protect at all costs.
That's right. Yep. And, you know, it amazes me, Lillian, how they ask what I do for a living. So I'm unemployed.
Yeah.
So I go, oh, I'm unemployed right now due to COVID. Oh, what do you do for money? They want to know what my income is.
Yeah.
And I don't tell them.
Yeah.
I tell them
you have to be careful. I mean,
yeah.
I slipped up. I said my husband provided well for me. You know, I'm okay because he put the money away and it's a living trust. And he says, does that mean you get money out anytime you want to? No. And he says, why? And I said, well, it's a real funny thing. I said, you know, when my husband died, there were some documents, investment documents that his signature is on, but that mine's not. So legally, those funds are not mine until some paperwork are done, which really floored him. I mean, these people don't know anything about U.S. laws. Not that I do either, but they don't know anything. All they see, the propaganda about the United States, the richest country in the world, is that wives are wealthy after their husbands die.
Yeah, I wish.
Yeah, well, you know, it's like if I'm very scrupulous of how I spend my money, I won't find myself on the street in 10 years because you realize that people are out, the women outlive men 10 to 1. Most women live until the early 90s. So that's an extra 10 years that most husbands don't even plan on.
Right.
Yes, I was there when people were eating cat food and dog food because I didn't have any money for their retirement years during the 80s and 90s. Like I said, I've been around a long time.
Yes, I've heard that. I mean, Matt became disabled at 56. So his income that he would have had for the past 10 years was gone. Thankfully, I was, you know, still working and able to pick up more hours. But, you know, things are tight. Thankfully, I got a extension on unemployment, but I can't touch, you know, life insurance money. That's for my old age, or you know,
when you get older.
Yeah, yeah.
And now the retirement age is 72, or is it 75? I forget, but they put it up a good 10 years.
Yeah.
But people who've already been on it as grandfathered in. And so you're saying, Betsy, Lillian, you're scaring me. And that's the point. We're trying to scare you into realizing that. And if you prefer women over men, that's fine. But women act the same way. If they want your money, they will find a way to take it. They don't have all those crime stories on the ID channel for nothing. And while I know a lot of them are reenactments, some of them hit a little too close to home. So is it an evil world out there? You betcha. And women are always the first to suffer.
Mm-hmm.
Or to put it into its proper perspective, in some countries, they sell the girls first to bring in money for food for the rest of the family. Girls are expendable. So that's how you can look at it. You are expendable. And you're ripe for the taking. So if Betsy and I have scared you, we've done a good job. And LinkedIn, you need to really clean up your site a bit.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, people may lie to you, and I'm not quite sure how you're going to go about doing that, but I know that Facebook and Twitter has cleaned up their sites quite a bit. And I think the only way you could probably handle it is provide a number where someone can call in anonymously and lodge a complaint. The way they do it in the universities and colleges now, for when somebody's raped or molested, they can call in on a phone line and say, I was molested and this is the person, and they can give a name or they can give a description, and then they go and they do something about it. Otherwise, LinkedIn and Facebook and Twitter and some of the other social media sites will become a breeding, breeding, ground for these predators to put their roots down and start looking out for prey. Prey.
And they do on Facebook, Lillian. They are, yeah, I have to laugh because either the guy is so stupid or they think we're so stupid.
I think they think we're stupid.
You know, they send their picture. I block them with the friend request. They come back, different name, same face. Let me tell you, folks, you got to get up pretty early in the morning to fool me. Do not fall for that. I block every mail request on Facebook unless they are in a group that I know and I know that they are really who they are. Strangers with these weird names, block. And they all have the same story. They're a widow. They're in the offshore oil industry.
Or they're in the military and they were in uniform with a lot of medals. And I'm a sucker for that anyway. But I got to tell you, are there any really nice people out there and nice guys? I don't know. To be truthfully honest with you, I mean, there are a couple of guys I do allow, and they all start, hi, how you're doing? Fine, that's great. And they say, nice to meet you, nice. And so I usually give them a week to trip over their feet. And then I block them because they're putting me in a position where, and you have to excuse me, I don't believe in owning a gun. But if I had one filled with acid, I'd be more than happy to go and let them have it. Because they know what they're doing. Mm-hmm. They've done it before, and they will do it again because they are predators. Absolutely. And they're looking for big game on LinkedIn. And women entrepreneurs are big game. So is there anything you want to add before we close it down?
Well, thank you, Lillian. I think this was great. I think, we are letting people know that anyone can be subject to a predator, even on LinkedIn. And yes, there are predators on LinkedIn, and you must be careful. Follow your gut instinct. Ask your friends if you're in doubt and block them. I have blocked probably about 10 people already on LinkedIn.
Yeah. And so you really need to be very discerning. And I mean, this guy got angry. He said, you didn't have to tell everybody about it. And I said, I told my family, I formed my family. My family are other women who are also, they don't have anybody. So we banded together as a family. And you always talk over things with family to find out what they think about it. So when my other 4 or 5 family members say, red flag, red flag, red flag, then you need to listen to them. Because that's what's family for, to tell you the truth, whether it hurts or not. Will I get over this love affair? Yeah. Am I happy about it? Not really. But those are the facts of life. As one person said, you walked into this with your eyes wide open, and they're absolutely right. I did. But now I'm closing my eyes and wishing to disentangle myself from the guy. So, yeah, it's going to be rough. And to find out about the further adventures of Lillian versus the LinkedIn predators, I'll probably start writing a blog about it. But the thing of the matter is, these things are real. And you have to understand that these are big game hunters and they have nothing to lose. They'll just go on to a new victim.
That's right.
And try to keep your heart in your chest. I know it's hard. Is the guy handsome? Not really. But he sounded genuine, and that's what killed me.
Yeah. They're
I'm a
very
sucker for
touchy.
children. Yeah, I'm
They're
a sucker for
very
children. Yeah. He said,
They're
I'll
very-
bring my daughter because I have co-ownership, blah, 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 and we can form a family. That's what I really want. And that's, that kills me because I love kids. And I really believe that kids need to have all the adults that they possibly can in their lives to guide them in the right direction. So that was my downfall. Yeah, I know most women opt for a diamond ring, but I already have one for my first husband. I don't need another one. In fact, I told him not to give me a diamond ring. I said I already have one. It was worn by his great grandmother. I'm going to pass it along to my grandson. I said I don't need another diamond ring. I'm not especially thrilled about diamonds anyway. Garnets, turquoise, maybe. So I wasn't his typical prey, and he's still having trouble with that because he did fall in love himself. But he's telling me things that are ridiculous. So, like I said, try to filter out what's really going on. And when in doubt, go find somebody you really, really trust who will go into the arena with you to face the lions and be torn apart. And you'll get their honest opinion. Because that's what I do. And if I hear the same protests, not only from my family, but people who I work with, then there's a problem and you need to fix it.
That's right.
So before we go away straight, I have this wonderful little quote for you today. And I had to figure out which one was really great. And I settled on Albert Camus, 1956. So that's only 50 years ago. And he said, to be happy, we must not be too concerned with others.
Very good.
So thank you all very much for joining us this morning. If you have any questions, you can email me at lsc@passionateworldtalkradio.com, or you can email Betsy at
Sloan, SLOAN, Betsy, BETSY 31 @gmail.com. Thank you.
And thank you very much. And until next time, have a great day.
Bye.